Oh, whoops.
Just getting my headphones in. Perfect. Are you seeing this now? I should be streaming something over Zoom. Oh, perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, are they on? They are.
Yo te traigo esta bomba puertorriqueña. Yo te la traigo de Cupey, de Vega Baja y de Santurce, de todas partes de Puerto Rico. Esta bomba yo la dedico a toda mi gente de Puerto Rico, a la familia Fontanet, allá en Cupey Alto y Los Mejía en Vega Baja. ¡Que gocen! ¡Sí! Bomba, bomba, para siempre. Bomba, bomba está presente, aquí lo canta mi gente. Bomba, bomba, para siempre. Baila, baila y goza, mi bomba puertorriqueña. Bomba, bomba. Bomba, bomba. Bomba, bomba. Bomba, bomba. Bomba, bomba, para siempre.
You call this archaeology?
Get out of there, Dan!
we're live. Well, at least I'm live on my end. Oh, hang on a sec. Let me. Not bad. Hang on. I think I'm gonna have to move my mixer at some point because, like, literally, to just. The run, so I might be a little, messy. Oh, really? Hang on. Oh, all right. All right. Sorry, I've been playing around with the cables, and sometimes they're a little touchy. The XLR ones. Yeah. Oh my god. I thought it was gonna be busy, and now it's not busy. That's what I've been telling people. It was busy until it wasn't. And more importantly, one of the reasons why we're starting late is because it's been the most beautiful winter I've seen in, like, it's like California winter right now, which I guess not everyone is gonna appreciate if you're from Nevada, but you know, today was like 60 something degrees and sunny. And everyone was out walking their dog and going running. It was insane. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. Really? Oh. Yeah. Oh, that's it? Oh. Oh. I just realized, is this the first extended period you spent in Florida where you haven't been working? Like, like working, like doing shovel testing? Seriously? Hang on, let me double check. Say that again. Say something again. Hang on. Huh. Properties.
So.
Huh. Well,
anyway.
Let's try that. Say something again. Oh, damn, I can totally hear you. Obviously, I can hear you. Not that that's very helpful to the audience, but hang on. Oh, wait, you are? Oh, darn it. Oh, crap. You're 30 seconds behind, and I've been fussing around with stuff, so maybe you might actually go out again. Darn it. Shoot. Hang on, let's go back then. Oh. Hang on, you will be. Let's see, I just put it back. I changed between when they could hear you and when they couldn't, which is, I should also point out that
one can hear me on Facebook, and listeners are dropping like flies. So there you go. Stuart says he lost both of us. Richie, I can't hear you at all. So Yeah. Well, you guys might be able to hear me now, but I don't know where Richie's at. I can't hear him.
Oh wait, there we go. Sorry, I knocked my Darn it, I gotta rearrange these cables.
Yeah, you do.
Sorry about that. Hang on. Also,
right.
I realize my gain's a little hot.
Yeah. I think they can hear me.
And so is your gain. But
they can hear you. Sounds like they can hear you.
Oh yeah, nah, yes,
So.
we're both good now. I know I'm just fooling around with gain. Oh, sorry about that, everyone. The problem is that, it's a long story on your end. I don't know what happened on your end, but on my end, my knee is sitting right against the XLR cable, and I guess when I move slightly, it kind of knocks out my audio.
Yeah, it's probably not a good plan. Yeah,
I know. Well, it's because I was fooling around with my whole audio setup and getting more familiar with it. Like it's a long story, but just to jump into things, like I bought some new headphones, some new monitor headphones, like really nice ones actually. I don't know if everyone can see that. And I was hearing stuff when I was editing that I'd never heard before, and it's like, uh-oh, I wonder this is like a good lesson to like make sure that you have that when your stuff wears out, like your old monitor headphones that you use for editing, that you should get new ones. But yeah, so basically probably. I went through and basically rejiggered my whole audio setup, not just the listening setup, but also the talking part of it. So I actually got something out of the chain.
Yeah, totally.
I'm not sure if anyone else at home can notice it, but I actually I finally was able. I got a mixer with an EQ, but because of the way I had it arranged, I couldn't use the EQ. But now I finally added some bass.
Oh, you sound good. Mike sounds good. So.
Oh, and we lost viewers because according to this, we still got the same amount of viewers.
Well, it came back. It was 3 for a second there, and it keeps fluctuating. So, anyway, let's move this right along. So,
do you notice? Yeah. Stuart has joined the chat. Cool.
I know. Yeah, Stuart's been in there for a little bit.
Oh, cool.
He's been my audio checking guy. Him and Jacob.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yeah, I don't know if Jacob hung with us for that, but there it is.
All right. So
also,
let's get back to what you're doing in Florida.
Yeah, well, this RV park we're at, by the way, is right across literally, I'm looking at train tracks out my window if it wasn't dark out right now. And there's a train going by right now. So if you can hear that, that's why that's happening. But otherwise, it's not bad here. Like I said, it's a little bit rainy right now and it's 54 degrees, but we're just down here because we need to be somewhere. And we figured we would travel around a little bit. We still stay pretty much isolated. I work all day long, pretty much right here where you're at, where you see me in the passenger seat of our RV. I work here on Zoom calls from pretty much, I'm usually editing podcasts in the morning until about 8:30 or so. And then from about 9 until 5 or 6, I'm typically on client calls and internal calls and stuff like that. And then, more editing in the evening, unless we're doing a live stream. So that's generally my days. So that's what we're doing. I just like when the view changes out the window every so often. And these parks with this membership we've got, we usually have a 2-week limitation on how long we can stay. And then we've got to be out of the system for 7 days and then back in for 2 weeks. So it keeps us on the move quite a bit. But it's free to stay here on the membership, which we got for free when we bought the RV. So we're not paying anything to stay where we're at right now, which is really nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
out of curiosity, what happened? So you're not you're no longer with the other company? Not to bring up personal stuff on stream, but your other or are you just
with like the safety company?
Yeah.
No, that's what I do during the day.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. I'm definitely with them still, and in fact, it's a nice position to be in, but we had a little bit of a shakeup in our personnel with some people that had some other opportunities and left all at the same time, and they called to offer me a better position with more money, and I still countered them.
Oh, really?
Because why not, right? So if they're that desperate, they're just going to call out of the blue and say, hey, you want some more money? I'm going to be like, yeah, but I want this much more. So what are you going to say to that? So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I'm still working for those guys, and I actually do like the company. It's a good product, good service. A lot of people that listen to this may have even done something with them. It's HSI is the parent company, Health and Safety Institute. You may have done your OSHA 10-hour, OSHA 30-hour MSHA training.
Oh my God,
something like that with them. So I know, right? So
you mean you're like 40-hour, 50-hour MSHA training?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Hey, at least you can do it remotely though, right? I mean, it sucks kind of, but you can do it remotely. So, hey, Amy just joined
Oh.
us, and member of the APN and recent winner of an Archaeotech contest we ran. So she gets
Oh, really?
free lifetime membership into the thing. She says no captions today. Was it doing automatic captions? Let me see if I can turn that on.
Oh, I don't control that from my end, everyone. So
Oh, here we go. Here we go. I got it. They're coming on now. I didn't realize I had to turn them on. I think Facebook was having them on by default to show everybody that it worked.
Oh.
But now there's a setting for me to turn it on. So thanks, Amy, for pointing that out. That's pretty cool. And Chuck's joined us too. So
Yay.
Chuck, I don't know why Chuck doesn't have the top fan badge like Amy does, because he joins just about every time as well.
Oh, really?
So
I don't even know how you get that.
Yeah. It's a Facebook algorithm. I think you have to post and reply quite a bit. And then whatever number that Facebook decides that is, I don't know if you're compared against everybody else or if you're just, you hit a certain number, you become top fan or something like that. I don't know. I really don't. So, but anyway, yeah.
Oh, but before I forget, not to bring up unnecessary stuff, but my God, have you been finding that the Mac version of Slack is like freezing out? Because every time I try to turn it on, it seems to freeze up for me. I'm not sure if that's something I'm doing or if it's just Slack.
I don't think so, and I use it pretty much all day long. So, I don't know if it's not updated or something like that. Slack did have an outage, I think last week or something like that, where it was down for quite a while. And but aside from that, no, I use it all day long, and it seems to be working fine to me. So,
all right. Well, that's
who knows.
Just in case anyone's wondering, I've got my a third screen here with my Android tablet up, so that's why I'm looking up. That way I can look on Slack.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Going through your little list that you sent me here, Richie. Richie wants to know when I get my AirPods Pro Max. First off, can we talk about the world's worst naming convention? Seriously? But they laughed when Apple called it the iPad, because they were calling it and then when they came out with the bigger iPad, they were calling it like the bigger one versus the mini, like the Maxi Pad.
Oh, I remember that.
For a while. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that the AirPods Pro Max, which is my God, that's too long. But anyway, they're continuing that strange theming with the weird case that looks like a bra to everyone, or a purse.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, they look like, and I've seen some reviews, they sound like a great pair of over-the-ear headphones that would be really great. Although I'm totally happy with my headphones. So, when I'm wearing the Bose Comfort, Quiet Comfort 2. They sound great when I'm on calls and I don't have my microphone in front of me. The mic here is good enough for the calls, and I can wear these. I do wear these all day long. And not only that, but when I turned on this call, it said I had a 30% charge. So hopefully it doesn't die when I'm on the call. But I usually start the morning with 100%, and I will literally go probably 8-9 hours with these headphones on a single charge. And it's great. And if they do die, I have a cord that I can plug into the computer, and you don't need a battery. It just works like a regular set of headphones if I still want to use these.
Oh, and that probably came for free. I'm pretty
sure the AirPod, it came with the headphones. Yeah. So
because the AirPods Pro Max, that is a $35 accessory, I think.
But it does have the ability to run it corded.
Yeah, but you have to pay like $35 or something like that.
Yeah. Well, you know why? I actually kind of agree with that, because most people probably don't need that, and Apple's trying to reduce waste. It's the same thing. Apple, like I've got the iPhone 12 Pro Max here, and my wife has the 12 Pro. They didn't come with charging blocks. They came with a USB-C to Lightning cable, but they didn't come with charging blocks.
They don't have to anymore.
Well, that's what Apple says. Like, you're plugging them into something else, or you've already got 15 charging blocks. So
and if you have like a modern car that was built within like the past, I was gonna say 5 years, almost like 10 years now. It seems like, there's some place to plug it in, like built in.
Yeah, at least a USB. Some of them have wireless charging.
Oh yeah.
So,
oh my God.
But almost all of them have USB if they were made in the last 10 years, like you said.
Yeah, and remember that Nissan we had when we were out near Elko had like USB-C outlets, which was super cool. Yeah, all over, and the USB and the regular USB-A outlets. There was like 5 of them. So they were all over the place. They were even, I think they were even like the cargo area.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, Hey, next thing down the list here, you've got the Sony AirPeak drone, and to be honest, I haven't had a chance to look at the video on this yet. So, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, let's see. Basically, for people who are not aware, about 2 days ago, Sony released this video, and a lot of people pointed out that the drone footage isn't that great because I can't tell if it was either meant to highlight the Sony electric car or the Sony electric drone, or they just threw both of them in there. But basically, it's their DJI Inspire competitor, and the thing that makes it interesting is that it's meant to integrate with their DSLR cameras, their mirrorless cameras.
Okay.
So basically, unlike with DJI, where you're just kind of stuck with the little gimbal drone that they give you, with the Sony drone, it's big enough to carry a DSLR.
Nice.
And
that's some powerful motors.
Yeah, and more important than that is that obviously they haven't listed specs on it yet, but you can probably put on some pretty crazy long zooms or crazy wide angles or whatever you want. And
nice.
Sony's already have like at least it's a bone of contention, but I feel like just watching some of the reviews that Sony probably has some of the best autofocus. So when you combine that with the drone and the great stabilization, it almost doesn't matter that DJI just got banned from this country. Although I don't know if that's going to stand now after the 20th.
It didn't get banned from the country. It got banned from like commercial or federal work.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't ban DJI from the country. They can't really. Well, I guess they could do that.
Yeah.
They could ban it from being, bought from China, but I don't think they've done that. They just banned it for use in commercial settings for government work. And they can't even ban it for regular commercial stuff. You can use whatever you want. But if you're doing a federal project or government work, like for example, Civil Air Patrol had a few DJI drones. They'd already kind of seen the writing on the wall with DJI and didn't invest a lot of money in them. But there were a handful in the inventory, and you're no longer able to use those for Civil Air Patrol purposes. And you were able to actually use your own drone if you had it properly registered and displayed and, signed a waiver basically saying you're not going to ask the Civil Air Patrol for money if you lose it. But you're not allowed to use DJI in that either. So, yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
Well, it's also interesting because I was watching the link I sent you was actually for for this little breakdown, and he was pointing out that it has a lot more proximity sensors than the DJI Inspire. Like obviously, it has the the DJI has like the sensors on the bottom, and then like I always forget, is it the sensors in the front and back or just the front?
Which one are you talking about again? The Inspire?
Yeah.
The Inspire Pro 2, I think, had sensors all around for avoidance. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the Sony does too, and supposedly, it makes me wonder if they're trying to incorporate some of that what was it, the Skydio, the one that people are running through the forest trying to like run away from. Makes me wonder if they're trying to like combine that with like a DSLR carrying quadcopter.
It's a good question. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, there's so many things we could do with it. If you were to take all the great features of all the good drones out there, I mean, you have a pretty unbeatable machine that can do pretty much anything. And it's all coming down in price too, right? Like the Inspire Pro 1 was, $5,000 package when it first came out. It's still pretty much that expensive. The 2 is. In fact, I think it's even more expensive from DJI.
Wow.
But they're just catering to a commercial market. You know what I mean? In a commercial market, they're just able to spend more, right? And DJI is kind of counting on that. They might be coming down in price when now that the hammer's coming down on them. But other drone manufacturers like these, like the Skydio and stuff like that, I mean, these features aren't hard to do. DJI hasn't cornered the market on that stuff, and they're not that hard to figure out either. You just got to have the will and the ability to do it, put it in a drone and sell it. So I think that stuff's coming way down in price, and it's going to be,
Oh, so it makes me think, by the way, that, when you'd said that, it made me think of the Terminator, when you said you have an unbeatable combination. Because, I mean, what was one of the first things you saw in, was it the second one? Where there's those flying were they quadcopters or just like, hovering little helicopter things?
Some other thing. I'm sure they were CGI, whatever they were. But, hey, I don't feel like we're too far from that either. I just saw another disturbing Boston Dynamics video because all of them are disturbing with their
the dancing one
with their robot. No, it was the robot dog that's got the arm on it that can open doors, and the guy was trying to fight it. Not only did the thing successfully open the door,
Yeah.
but he was like holding a broom handle in front of it. It had like a rope attached to the back, and he tried pulling it away. And this thing had a single-minded mission to get that door open, because that's the last thing it was told. The handlers brought it up to the door and said, "Open this door," and then put
Wow.
down the remote control. And the robot dog basically did everything on its own, even in the face of adversity, when the guy was trying to prevent it from doing it. Now,
Yeah.
it's not like RoboCop or something, or actual Terminator, where the thing was able to really resist anything. The guy could have easily just pushed it over and probably won.
Yeah.
But it's the AI behind it that's a little bit intimidating, right? Because if they get the AI right, and the drone's like, and the dog
Yeah.
thing is like, the robot is like, I'm gonna do this, all they
Yeah.
have to do is make it stronger, and that's not hard. So,
Yeah.
you know,
I was
making it
just-
stronger is the easy part.
I was just thinking, like, there's definitely some crew chiefs in the olden days who would have like loved to have these robots and not have to deal with field techs anymore.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of applicability to it, because we've talked on like Archaeotech before about drone survey in open
Yeah.
environments, like in the desert west, where there's very little vegetation. You could program just about any drone these days to fly at a pre-programmed level above the ground, not an absolute level, but
Yeah.
a level above the ground, and it's called AGL, above ground level. And say I want to fly at 100 feet above the ground, or 30 meters, or 35 meters, or 40 meters, whatever your aperture and resolution on your camera will support. Fly 100% coverage of a survey area, come back, put that through some photogrammetry, then run that through some algorithms that you've taught the system to find certain types of artifacts and features, and then ground truth the results, right? Ground truth the positives, basically. Don't go out and survey 30,000 acres. Ground truth the hits. And if you're in a sensitive area, like, we've talked about working down in naval installations in eastern Mojave of California, where there's bombs and snakes all over the place, unexploded ordnance, it's dangerous to be out there, but we still have to do it. And if you could send out something like this that could have a camera attached to it, it's not like the robot dog is going to go out and say, yes, that is a projectile point, and record it, but you could work through it, right? It's on the ground, its visual is really good, and it's right there on the surface level, and it has arms and controls you could probably manipulate.
And just to put it in like a simpler context, it's basically like a much simpler and much more realistic way to do probability models, because right now, like, I've been on several survey projects where they've tried to use probability models, and they're not always perfect or even that good, and they can't give you like like when you get there, you're like, there's no way that this is like a high probability area in real life. It just looks like that because of the info you fed it in the GIS, but it's not like real. So I imagine that with a drone, not only could you see if it's an actual high probability area, but you could also like scout out for access. Thank God.
Yeah. I honestly don't see why not.
Because was it an Archaeo Field Techs or another group I saw where some state paid for a GIS model and forced people to use it, but it was not very good because they fed it the incorrect info.
Well, yeah, Chris Cameron was writing about that, and I can't remember what state he was talking about, but that's not totally unheard of, right? Like, people think they know what they're doing, but they end up not putting the right information in. Stuart says, if I had a competent robot dog, I wouldn't use it for field survey. I would use it for crime. He's not wrong.
I was thinking what I would use it for is to carry all my crap.
Right? Yeah, totally. All right, well, moving down the line here. What about the next thing on your list? What do you got?
Oh, well, I kind of talked about it before, but I'm not sure about you, but for me, I have been buying little bits of things. It's a long story, but last year I did a lot of upgrading for equipment, and this year it's just kind of getting it all to work better.
Mm-hmm.
And not only for live streaming, because obviously the biggest thing for live streaming was these subscriptions, like how I'm basically live streaming to, like, as many sites as I want, although technically it's only 3. But also finally getting some video editing stuff down. It's a long story, but I'm not sure. Obviously you use I don't know, do you still use that screen capture software, or do you use Premiere now to edit your videos?
I use Final Cut.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Because I use DaVinci Resolve, and DaVinci Resolve 17 has something I really want. It's a long story, but you know, to buy the full license is $300. But if you buy DaVinci Resolve 17, if you buy the DaVinci Resolve 17 Speed Editor, which is kind of like a control service, you get the software for free. The problem is that it's in beta, so I can't buy it yet.
Huh. Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm also thinking, even though I realize that an iPad's really frustrating for video production, I was thinking about getting an iPad, at least an iPad Air. That way I can do video editing when I'm like, in a tent.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a long story. Because last year it worked out really well where during my winter break I was able to get all these videos edited and stuff, but I'm not so sure I'm gonna have that much time this year.
Yeah, I would say the only thing you got to make sure of is just in case. Well, and maybe you don't. Depends on how long you're going to be gone for. But one of the reasons why I never fully embraced the and I need to check it out again because it's been probably a couple years since I fully looked at it. But the Aria Pro, the audio editing program for iPad, and I think it only worked on iPad Pro Max or the iPad Pro like 12.9 inch, because it was so big and it needed that kind of like surface, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think the only reason I didn't really stick to it is because, I was never, unless I was on a plane or something, which I'll still use it then, but it's just easier for me to edit than get out my laptop because when I'm not in first class, right? So when the person in the front of me puts their seat back, the laptop screen comes down with it, right? There's just nothing you can do about that. But so I would just edit like holding my iPad like this with my Apple Pencil in Aria Pro. But the problem is if I don't finish a podcast and I want to finish it in, say, Audition, there was no good way to export it.
Oh,
so
really?
I could finish it in Audition. Yeah. I mean, I could export the individual tracks and then rebuild it. But to be honest, I'd love to export it as an Audition file and then, be able to basically go back and forth. Like you can basically do that between like word processing programs like Pages and Word and Google Docs and stuff like that. But you can't necessarily do it with those files.
But and it's interesting. You can also do that with LumaFusion. You can do a basic edit in LumaFusion and then export that in a format that both DaVinci Resolve and Final Cut Pro both understand.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Although I have to admit, I haven't like played around with the LumaFusion, so I'm not sure how how much fun it's going to be to like edit in a tent, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, it just depends on source material and how you can make the cuts and dragging clips in and stuff like that. I would probably want to do all the special effects and not special effects, but transitions and text and stuff like that in Final Cut, but do like the hardcore editing in something like on my tablet, so I can just sit on the couch and comfortably just like do it. But I don't know. I might have to play with it again because I downloaded LumaFusion. I just haven't really used it. So, anyway, that kind of leads into. You okay?
Oh yeah, hang on. Yeah. I'm just like copying and pasting. It's hard. I got my my thing out of the way, my keyboard out of the way. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I was gonna say that kind of leads into the next thing you were kind of had on here was what we're doing on our winter breaks. Of course, I'm not really fully doing archaeology, so I don't really get a winter break. I'm just still working. But I did get a contact today that I haven't called her back yet, but our typical project that we do in Nevada. So
cool.
we're just trying to really figure out what we're doing because it's been interesting trying to figure out where we're going to go and what we're going to do in the RV because there's so many things we want to do, but of course there's only so much time in the world to be able to do this. It's hard to figure out what we're going to do because we have a certain milestones that we're going to try to hit too. Like this project that we always do in Elko, Nevada is usually in June these days. So we're kind of planning on being back in the Nevada area by June. Although I got to talk to my contact there and see if there's anything else she wants us to do to change our time there.
Oh yeah. Kind of like last year.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then, we, I'm still with the Civil Air Patrol, and if the Reno Air Races happens, which it's up in the air, it's up in the air whether or not that's going to happen. But that's in September, so we'd probably be back for September. And then we were planning on being on the West Coast and probably the Pacific Northwest for much of the fall, and then maybe heading back east here for the winter. But I just don't know. So, but it's hard to figure out what we're going to do and where we're going to be. Right now, we're planned out till the end of April. We're going to be in we're booked out through March 6th, I think, in
Yeah.
Florida, and then we've got about 3 weeks between then and I think the end of March when we're going to go back to Charlotte for a month just to hang out with Rachel's family again for another month, and then we're going to
Yeah.
head west. So
Ah.
yeah, so we'll probably take the month of May to make our way back to the Nevada area and then do some work.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh.
how about you? What have you been doing? So have you been able to work? You said you had some time off now. Did they get snow there or something in your
That too.
project
Well,
areas?
it's a you know, I can't talk too much about it, but it's a
Yeah, sure.
combination of snow and trying to get the schedule kind of like ironed out.
Yeah,
It's you know, it's been a you know, as with a lot of things in archaeology, it's been kind of you know, they had to get things going really quickly and didn't have quite enough time to plan things out.
sure.
And now that it's being snow,
Sure.
now that there's like kind of like a snow break, they're kind of trying to get things reset.
Yeah,
So, and
yeah.
it's oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, have you seen, and maybe Chuck has, there's a company called Croker, Kroeker. I may have mentioned them before, but there's a company called Croker who's one of my clients for the safety stuff. They do the tree removal and like stump grinding and stuff like that post fire, and they're working
Oh.
on a lot of Northern California fires right now. They're based out of like Fresno. I don't know if they're working down where you're at though,
Actually,
but they are
no.
doing a lot of stuff on the northern end. So yeah,
You know, it's interesting,
just
you know. You mentioned that what, you know, what you're doing, what I'm doing, and you know, before I mention my comment, they're Chuck and Stuart are commenting about what's behind my curtain, and it's just like, you know. Let's see. Huh. Hang on. And what I am doing though, because it's a long story, but for Christmas I bought myself a weight vest for running and working out and stuff, and I didn't.
Richie, we lost your audio again. You clipped your mic cord.
Hang on a sec.
There you go.
Oh, good. Am I back now?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Sorry
you're
about
back
that. Oh, darn. I'm gonna have to figure out a. It's a long story, but I was using scotch or masking tape to hold it in place, and when I was rearranging it, I kind of broke it.
Yeah. So
All right. But anyway, yeah. So running with a weight vest has been super interesting, and it's also, you know,
mhm.
it supposedly it's supposed to let me like get a lot more workout in less time and less miles. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, just in case anyone ever has been curious as to how I can still be so speedy, it's not because I'm just naturally speedy. It's because I work at it during the off season.
You got to keep it going. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Kind of like the way, you know,
So-
people should keep their resumes up to date and maybe spend their winters trying to figure out how to format in Word. Because that's that's
Yeah.
where I am in the podcast right now, where you guys are complaining about how people can't format in Word.
Yeah. Oh, on the Archaeotech podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sierra Mark podcast.
Oh, is that Sierra Mark? Because I think I talked
Yeah.
about it in Archaeotech too.
Yeah, you did.
It's a huge bone of contention for me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, you know.
Yeah.
It's my God, I feel like it's one of those things that I don't know, like I don't know if they teach that in high school or if they should, or if they should teach it like in an intro to English class or something. I feel like
Mhm.
they're worried a lot about content, but not a lot of people are worried about are worried about how to use these tools they're giving to people or making people
Yeah.
use.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good segue because that's one of the things you've got on your list of topics here is
Yeah.
Zoom etiquette during Zoom conferences. I
Oh, yeah.
assume you put that on there in response to the latest controversy at the Society for Historical Archaeology conference that happened online.
Exactly.
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, they pretty much kicked off the session with a plenary session that I think it had about 150 people on it or something like that, which actually sounds like quite a few for a plenary. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how many people go to these things, but it's always in a big room and it's half full. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, one of the older professors got kind of irritated that he got cut off because actually he started speaking about something that was completely off topic for the time, and there was another time and place to do that. So the moderator kind of jumped in and cut him off a little bit, and he was stating that he was trying to express that it was like a, you know, like a fascist regime that was controlling his free speech, and so he said he gave a Nazi salute and said "Sig Heil" and to you, and you know, calling the person a Nazi basically, and And now the crap has really hit the fan on that one. So I don't even know if he still has a job left. He's at the University of Pennsylvania, I think.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the thing I wanted to point out is the fact that a conference is a conference is a conference, whether it's online or in person. And, you wouldn't like stand up in the middle of like a Mayan archaeology conference and go over to someone and start talking to them about business stuff for the whatever whatever organization whose conference it is. That's not the time for that. I mean, we may be sitting in our homes, but it's still a conference.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, definitely still a conference. So it's like anything, and especially, I mean, Zoom conferences are especially more susceptible. It really is a place where you need to really watch your P's and Q's. I'm not saying you can do whatever you want in a face-to-face conference because people are watching, and not that even that you should censor your behavior only when people are watching. You should just be a decent person all the time, right? Even when people aren't watching, but just assume it's being recorded.
Yeah.
I mean, they even said they were recording it because, and Chuck is saying it was a hard thing to watch, super cringy. Yeah, I didn't see it live. I watched the video afterwards, and I'll tell you what, you could tell that he was one of those older professors that is irritated by the whole virtual Zoom thing because the person who was giving the plenary talk was talking about accessible conferences and things like that, and taking lessons basically from having a virtual conference and essentially doing that every time. She wasn't saying get rid of physical conferences, but have this component every time, and he was getting real irritated by that because he's too old to understand it. And his agitation was just through the roof, and then he lost it.
Because I feel like you and I have been talking about that. I remember you've been talking to I mean, you used to try to talk to various conferences about doing this before this whole thing happened. Because there's so many people who want to go to these conferences and want to see these papers, but they can't because either they're busy, they have like life stuff, or they have school stuff, or they have work stuff, but they'd still like to be, keep up with all the latest research.
Well, and you do have to look at the transition zone between going from physical conferences to physical plus virtual, right? You have to look at that transition because, and in my experience in the past, when I've talked to people at like the Society for American Archaeology, even up to like 7-8 years ago about doing this, their worry is that if you start providing the papers in a virtual, in an audio or video format, even after the fact, and you like sell you can still sell a ticket to the conference, but they're just not going to go. All the deals and stuff that the organization has made in the town, like they make deals with the hotels and saying we're going to get this much capacity if you block off this many rooms and all that stuff, and they're caught because they still have to make all those deals assuming the people are going to show up, and yet they're afraid that half the people aren't going to attend because they now don't have to fly all the way across the country or the world to go to a conference. I mean, this SHA was supposed to be in Portugal. How accessible is that for a lot of people? You know, I mean, I was planning on going just because I'd never been to Portugal, but
I remember that.
obviously COVID hit and we never bought any tickets or anything. So, but I'm thinking it's just a transition period. If they bill it differently, like I went to this podcast conference that usually takes place in March, and they're actually holding a virtual event in March and planning on the physical conference in June, assuming June is somewhat back to normal, which in Florida, that's probably now because they think it's back to normal. They don't think there's COVID here. I'm pretty sure. But anyway, so, but if they just had both components like that conference I went to, they sell a physical ticket and they sell a virtual ticket. And if you spend, you get like a deal if you buy them both. And it's very well recorded. Doesn't come out immediately. They process everything. They put on their graphics. So they host it on their own websites and wherever they're going to put it. They organize it, and you can then use that as a back catalog basically for the conference. If you have the virtual ticket, you can go back and watch that stuff, and you can see the stuff that you didn't get a chance to see. I hate flying all the way across the country and and they have 60 concurrent sessions going on.
And you always miss one, like or several.
Or 10. I mean, it's not even it's not even accessible for the people who can get there. So,
and I also think they're being short-sighted, by the way, because I mean, think about it. Like I always forget what Apple's conference is, but I mean, think about how how small those things would be if they didn't also you know, or how not popular they would be if they didn't also like broadcast those I always forget, like, you know, I mean, like, I forget what you
Yeah.
call them, you know, whatever events. There was Apple, like, you know, was it keynotes or
Apple. They just call them Apple keynotes. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, they're holding CES in virtually right now.
yeah,
CES has been held in Las Vegas for the last like 40 years,
yeah,
and this is the first time it's completely virtual, and it's just as successful.
of course.
You know?
Because, you know,
Yeah.
you're either there to like get eyeballs or you're there to like, you know, you're there to sell tickets. Like, you know, are you there to disseminate,
Yeah.
you know, info and, you know, get your papers heard? Or, you know,
Yeah.
what?
Well, I've always said that if you're going to have a conference with a virtual component,
Yeah.
again, I reference back to this podcast conference, Podfest that I've gone to.
Oh, yeah.
They had a lot of events that were centered around networking. You know,
Oh,
they had specific networking events where, like,
yeah.
I joined in on the day before, where I'm a podcast editor, so I paid a little bit extra money to go to the podcast editors conference, what they called it, which took place the day before in the same venue.
Yeah.
And all of us had a few times on the next day when there were, you know, talks and things going on, where
Yeah.
we would sit in a big room, and they would put like one or two of us at a big round table that holds like 10 people, and then there was a whole bunch of other people in the room,
Yeah.
and it was like chat with an editor. So there were podcasters in there that wanted to talk with podcast editors and
Ooh.
either make a deal and get a client or just ask questions, and we were
Yeah.
just there to, you know, give them information and network, meet new people. I got a bunch of business cards, and you know,
Oh,
and just hang out and talk. And if we start, you know, obviously people are going to go to the conference to present, but there should be a virtual presentation mode as well. But make it worthwhile to go across the country to go to the conference. It's not
yeah.
just chatting at the bar, which also had its value, but, you know, make those networking events, make those events where people can go and they can do something that's hard, if not impossible, to do online,
Yeah.
like classes and workshops and stuff like that. They still do workshops, but they're, you know, workshops that could be done in a Zoom call.
Yeah. More
So,
importantly,
you know,
they
do
need
things like that.
I was gonna say they need to think of it more like how can I put this? I mean, you know, it's kind of like Twitch, you know. I'm
Mhm.
not sure how much of that you watch, but basically there's like so much more participation on Twitch for something, and I feel like these
Yeah.
conferences can be like I remember when you held that session, and you know there was like, you know, so, you know, Sonia was there, and God, I always
Oh
forget
yeah.
his name, you
Yeah.
know, the dude from the Fallon NAS was there and stuff, and that was like
Mhm.
the most fun part of that conference. It wasn't necessarily the papers, but the discussion afterwards. And I feel like, you
Yeah.
know, if you hold more virtual conferences and you make it more virtual, it can be more like that all the time.
Right. Right. Totally. Totally. So,
Yeah, and I feel
yeah.
like we should give
Anyway.
people like a reference for that. Basically, you know, the Chris hosted a conference, and you know, afterwards there was like a really long discussion after the conference is over, just because you know,
Yeah.
everyone was super interested into it.
Right. Yeah. And Chuck mentioning that he misses chatting at the bar, and I totally get that. But again, talking about inclusion, that's for certain people, right? I mean, I like it too, but it's for certain people, and some other people who, you know, maybe have a problem with alcohol, whether it's personal or just how they grew up or something like that. They don't like those sort of environments, right? And
Yeah,
it's not conducive to them, right? To them going there, so they want to miss out on stuff. And I'm not saying we have to really cater to every single person out there, but we should have enough options so people do feel like they're getting a good experience
yeah.
and seeing a bunch of stuff. So, um, yeah, referencing the comments here, Richie, you're now in the 1% because I think it's only 1% of people that have CD binders anymore.
Oh, I know.
So,
It's a long story, but like, you know, years ago I started collecting what was it, Verve Jazz Masters? They had like this 100 CD set, and so I've just been
mm,
buying them like one or two at a time, like every so often.
nice,
Yeah, you know,
nice.
and you know, I mean, I realized that most of my music is on my phone, like actually all of it, but I noticed that when I'm listening to a CD, I actually listen to it the whole way through.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when you look at it as an album, you know, that's one of the best ways to do it. So,
True.
um, yeah. All
All right.
right.
Oh, you know, I was gonna
Yeah,
ask you about this because I know you mentioned it on the CRM Arc podcast on the Zoom episode,
sure.
but do you have any tips for presenting on Zoom? Because I know that not a lot of people realize. I mean, I can't show them on screen because I've got the
Mm-hmm.
I've got the control section of Zoom blocked out. But you know,
Yeah.
there's like, you can do more than share a screen with Zoom in this interface. You can also like do kind of like that I don't even know if anyone remembers him, but the John Madden sort of drawing on the screen thingy.
Yeah. So there's actually let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 things I'll mention that are just takeaways. If you want to hear more, listen to the Sierra Mark podcast. Just go check out. I think I don't even know if we might have mentioned. I don't remember what it was called, but um, anyway, something about virtual things on Zoom or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, point is, 4 things I'll mention. Screen sharing. First off, there's 3 ways to share your screen, right? You can share your entire desktop, which don't ever do that unless you really need to. I've had some circumstances on my client calls where I have had to share my entire desktop because I'm sharing a Safari screen, like a web browser, and I'm showing like a spreadsheet or a PDF or something like that.
Yeah.
And there's no way to share 2 different windows from 2 programs. You have to just share your whole desktop. And if you've only got one screen, then everything's going to be right there. So recommendations around that: make sure you have a desktop background that is conducive to client interactions or interactions with your colleagues. Maybe change it if it's something you don't think you want to share with the world. Be conscious of the files that are sitting on your desktop as well.
Oh yeah.
To be honest, when I see somebody's desktop background and there's 7,000 really small files in random order, I instantly know a lot about their brain in that it's very disorganized to me. Or it's so highly organized I don't even understand it. One of those 2 things is happening, but it doesn't fit the way that I do things.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, if you can, I don't know how Windows computers do this, but I'm sure there's a way.
Yeah.
Apple has a really easy way to put your computer in do not disturb mode. So, text messages from my wife, Slack messages from colleagues, and things like that are not showing up in the upper right-hand corner of my screen. That's how Apple does it. They just kind of slip onto the screen and then slip off.
Yeah.
But I've seen plenty of people using Windows computers where like their Outlook notifications and news stuff will pop up on the bottom right.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly unprofessional to me, right? Just turn that stuff off. Turn some sort of do not disturb mode on if you can to get rid of all that.
And I can't show
so that's
people.
one thing is
I can't show people, but there is a do not disturb. There is definitely a do not disturb on Windows.
Yeah. I mean, I figured there would be, right? I just don't know where it's at. So if you have to share your entire screen, think of those things, right? Second thing, don't share your whole screen if you don't have to, right? Or share one computer monitor if you've got 2, and don't share the one that's your primary desktop. Share the one that's just your extended screen.
Yeah.
But if you don't have to do that and you're just sharing a presentation or you're just sharing a web browser or something like that, then just all those little windows that show up are your open programs. So just click on the open program and share that one, and then they don't see anything else. Now, keep in mind, sometimes I have to share my full screen when I'm showing clients certain things, because if you're just sharing the window, certain apps like the safety software DoneSafe that I work with, if somebody clicks to open a drop-down menu, I actually can't see the drop-down menu. Zoom blocks it out, and I don't know why, but I can't see it. And if I'm trying to direct them on how to do something, I need them to share their entire screen for me to actually see that. If they're just sharing the window, they won't see it. If I'm just sharing my window and I'm showing them, they still won't see it. And if I need to, sometimes we have to jump up into the URL bar and change a few things about the URL to show them some sneaky hidden things that we can do. And they can't see that either. Zoom blocks it out as extraneous information. I don't know how Zoom does it, but it blocks it out. So just be conscious of that.
Yeah.
Also, one other tip around that.
Yeah.
If your Zoom is updated, there's a little box down in the share screen that says share computer audio. If you're trying to play a video or have any sounds come over from the things that you're doing, you need to do that. Otherwise, Zoom isn't going to share the audio from your computer.
Which can be a good thing.
Yeah, totally. Then the next thing in the share menu, and sometimes depending on the system you're on, you might have to click like advanced in the share or slide over a screen, or see it in a different way. But when you hit the share screen menu, there's a whiteboard feature.
Yeah.
And the whiteboard allows all participants on the call to actually draw in different colors on the whiteboard, so you can brainstorm something together. It's not great, but it's fun, right? It can be useful. It's better if you have a mouse. I've noticed it's real hard to do with a trackpad.
Oh, really?
But you just have more control with a mouse, right?
Yeah.
So it's just easier to do that way. And then related to that, especially if you're showing somebody how to do something, there's the annotate feature, and that's a security feature as well. So you can actually shut it off as the host. But
Oh,
if it's on, you just go up into your menu system there, and I think it's under view options or something like that, and you can view the annotate menu,
oh yeah.
and then you can draw on the screen. You can use text. You can do all kinds of stuff, and I do that literally all day long. I'm using annotate to point to where I want a client to click and saying,
Yeah.
click here, click here, click here, do this. And sometimes they just can't see it, and it speeds up the call if I can circle the button I want them to click, and then I go clear it right away. So it goes away. Um,
Yeah. Oh wow, that
so that's
actually is
those
super
things.
handy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's super handy. Um, so the other thing that has already been commented on here is be conscious of your background if your video is going to be on. If you've got a nice decent there's two things really three things to be conscious of. One,
Yeah.
how is your background representing you, right? Is it a messy room? Is it your bedroom, like I think has been mentioned on a CR Mark podcast?
Oh yeah.
Your bedroom with an unmade bed behind you. People are working from home, we know that, but we don't have to see your home.
That's
There's
true.
ways around that. um I've got this curtain up here, not
Yeah.
really because I have a messy background behind me, but because this is my home. I live in an RV, and my wife is back there. She doesn't want to be on this call. So, you know, she's doing stuff, and you can basically see all the way back through our living room. You can't see back into the bedroom because
Oh, you
there's a
can?
big wall there, but
Oh.
no, I mean, you can kind of see down the hallway a little bit, but
Oh.
the bathroom's in the way. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, that's I mean, be conscious of that and fix it. And if you're gonna have like a virtual background or something like that, again, be conscious of your own background, because if the virtual background is really busy, and if it's video and moving around, but you don't have the kind of background that Zoom can actually resolve, like a nice easy background,
Yeah.
then your virtual background is going to be coming in and out, and that's going to be just as distracting as like a messy background. So
And that can also
and
get
it looks
complicated because if
unprofessional.
you start using the green screen, then you have to light it
Oh yeah.
and stuff like that. Because
Yeah.
I after listening to that episode of CR Mark podcast, I did look up the chair thing, and it's like I realized that my office chair is
Yeah.
not the sort that would work with that. And that's also the reason why
No, I think only
oh, go ahead.
yeah. I think only specific chairs really would.
Yeah.
Richie's talking about this big round like thing you can get that kind of just slips onto your chair. That's a green screen that goes behind your head.
Yeah.
But it would work in even a poor lighting condition. It'd be better than nothing, because Zoom's pretty good at resolving a background and erasing the stuff that's not moving. But you would have to be real close to the camera too. Like where I'm
Yeah.
sitting right now, the green screen would be like right here.
Exactly. That's a good thing, because people are mentioning what's behind my curtain, and the reason for that is because I set this up super quickly, and it's not in the same place that it was when I was testing it, because it definitely should cover the whole thing. I just have it in the wrong spot.
Yeah. And there's never really been anything wrong with your background, but
No.
it's distracting when people are trying to listen to you, and they're trying to figure out, well, what records does Richie have back there? What is that on his shelf over there? What is, what's going on back there? It's just, it's not even that you want to hide it. It's that it's
Yeah.
distracting. It's taking away from what we're trying to do right now. Right.
And more importantly,
So,
I am going to be I am eventually maybe might be switching to a green screen at some point. It depends on how much free time I have, because from what I understand, I am not going to have much of a break. So, I'm just trying to enjoy it as much as I can. But, and I do have some pre-drawn backgrounds, which I think are super cool, like stuff I actually drew, but
nice.
Yeah, but it's a long story, but the thing that is holding this curtain up behind me didn't exist when I first bought this curtain and the cross rod. And I was looking on eBay recently, and suddenly there it was. I'm like, oh my god, that's exactly what I've been looking for all these years. So I bought it, and that's what put the idea of a green screen back in my mind, because it's a long story, but when I first bought like this background stuff, it was just all traditional photographic stuff, and it wasn't really conducive to like live streaming. It was really meant more for like like shooting in a studio with like a model and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is one of those good things. It's like, man, like, thanks. I mean, it's both good and bad, because, obviously everyone's trying to live stream now, but it's like, it's crazy how far the equipment has come in such a short time.
Yeah.
Like, I was seriously thinking about like just getting rid of my mixer and everything and just going with this one that I actually sent you, which was the Elgato Wave, which is like
Right.
God, I forgot. It's like they've got some fancy capsule from like an English company in it, but the thing is, it's not the microphone that's cool. It's the fact that it comes with a 9-in, 9-out mixer. like as software.
Right.
And the
Yeah.
microphone itself is just your product key. And it's like, wow, that's like so powerful.
Nice.
But and it's like, and right now the fancy version is only $130. But then again, I also kind of like looking at a mixer. It makes me feel you know, it makes me feel professional, even though we're not, or at least I'm not.
Yeah. Well, speaking of being professional, the one last thing I'll mention is, you know, a lot of people are working on laptops.
Oh yeah.
Because they're at home, right? So maybe you have a company laptop. A lot of people only have a laptop these days.
Exactly.
I don't know a lot of people that are, you know, under the age of 40 that have a desktop computer at home, right? Unless they have kids or something and they bought it for that reason. But or they're a gamer, right?
Yeah.
Gamers often have stuff that they've created and things like that. But your average working person is probably just working off a laptop at home. And one thing you might tend to do, if you actually have it on your lap or you're working at a desk, is sit like this, right? So now you're looking up my nose for the whole entire call and you're not paying attention to your own screen. And that's my one last tip is regardless of what system you're using, look at your own video so you can see what people are doing. I've seen videos like this. I've seen videos like this. I've seen everything in between. So I'm actually my computer is sitting on a kind of on a lap tray. And
oh wait, that sounds so familiar. Is it, you know, it's kind of like a oh god, it's almost like what they used to call a lap desk.
Yeah, basically it's a lap desk because working in this RV, a lot of times I do want my computer on my lap sitting on the couch or sitting up here. But basically this lap tray has like two channels that are filled with like beanbag type material underneath, and it makes it so it sets really nicely on the dash of my RV. So now, even though I'm a little farther away than I'd like to be on this call, which gives me a lot of extraneous space around me, it's at least at eye level, right? And I feel like that's just a picture that's more conducive to that, because the other byproduct of doing a long call like this on Zoom is, you know, I'm going to be shifting around. And my camera's shifting with me, you know, so it's just super distracting when all that kind of stuff happens.
Oh, by the way, should people be cosplaying on their Zoom calls?
You know, if it's an internal call, why not? Right? Why not? When I was, are you referencing what I mentioned on the podcast? Yeah. One of my colleagues in Australia, when we were first really in the thick of this thing and they were going full Zoom calls, because they did fewer Zoom calls than I did. Even working with this company, I'm always on Zoom calls because all my clients are all over the country, really in Canada and USA. But they were used to going into the office every day and didn't do as much remote stuff except when they were dealing with clients, and which was in her position, it was rare because she's more internal. But she started really getting into it, and she'd have like a Harry Potter background and put on like a witch hat and stuff and different makeup, and you know, because we'd have our internal meetings once or twice a week or more, and she would just do it up, man, and have a great background and a great you know, all kinds of stuff. So Chuck says his lighting always makes his forehead shiny. Well, you got to put makeup on, Chuck.
Or
isn't that what they do in the movies? Yeah. Isn't that what they do in like TV shows? They'll put makeup on to make you less shiny. As you can tell, I haven't done that, and I'm in a place where it's really humid right now. Although, good thing it's cold, so I don't feel it.
Oh,
but
this is probably the only nice time of the year to be there.
I know, right? That's why we're here now. We would never come here in the summertime. So hey, I think maybe we'll leave some stuff for like our next live stream, because it's getting late over here. But I did want to say one thing that I forgot about that I mentioned, Richie.
Yeah.
I bought just before Christmas, and we've only had a chance to use it a few times, but it's set up outside and ready to go.
Yeah.
We bought the Solo Stove Ranger.
Wait, that sounds that one. I know that one.
The Ranger is the one just under their Titan or whatever, their big fire pit.
Yeah.
So the Ranger, it's about, you know, as you're looking at me, it's about this big, about this tall. It's about as tall as a regular piece of firewood you would like buy at a grocery store, right?
Yeah.
But it is fantastic. It is really great. You put some kindling inside there, whatever you want. You put your fire together, and it basically creates like a swirling vortex of fire that keeps all the smoke and stuff basically going straight up and doesn't really go over into your face. And and it's light. We got the because it was on sale, because it was right after like Black Friday and all that stuff is when I bought it.
Yeah.
We got like the package that came with the ember screen over the top of it, the little stand to keep it just slightly off the ground so it's a little nicer, and then like a cover over it that it's got sitting on it right now outside, and then a
Yeah.
bag that the whole thing kind of fits in, so you can just like, carry it off to the beach or something like that. So super
Well,
super nice and very worth it.
Well, what's interesting is I have the one that's the next size down. I have the largest one that isn't backyard, that isn't isn't a backyard one. It's like the largest one they make that's portable. Oh, interesting.
For
I don't think-
backpacking. Yeah.
Oh wow, I thought I just put on the link for it. Hang on, let me try that again.
Yeah. So you've got the biggest one they make for backpacking, basically.
Well, it's definitely not backpackable size. It's like car camping size.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Well, and that's the funny thing. Depending on your car, I kind of see this Ranger as almost a car camping size too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
It doesn't take up that much space. It's big, but it's not overly big. It's not like the really big one they sell that you just like leave in your backyard.
Oh, before I forget, the thing I use it for the most, by the way, is as a paper incinerator. I'm not sure you're supposed to use that for I'm not sure if that's environmentally friendly. What's what I use it for? Like if I have food and it's got a box or whatever, and I'm got the thing going in already, I just throw it inside, and that way I have less trash.
It's just like, it's just like a campfire.
Yeah.
You're not going to damage it by doing that. You still have to kind of pour the ashes out, and it's just going to be more paper ash than wood ash, in that case.
Was it? God, I remember. I forget.
would
Was
do
it
the same
you
thing.
or was it someone else who was telling me about this story about how someone was saving up all their per diem receipts and they were putting it in a or their per diem checks and their and they were putting them in this cereal box or something. And on the last, was it you?
It was well, I have one story. I'm sure there's more stories like that, but the person I know was just keeping him in like a gallon Ziploc bag or something, or maybe it was a brown paper bag or something like that, and had him in his hotel room. And I think they were just sitting on the table or something. I don't know. And the maid threw him away.
Oh no! Well, then it must be someone else because someone was saving like their per diem checks in like a cardboard box. And during the last night when they were breaking up camp, he threw like all his cardboard in the campfire, including all his checks.
Oh my god! Nice. I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, which is
That's
which
crazy.
is like definite strike against per diem checks.
Yeah, totally. So, all right. Well, I think I'm gonna get going. It's 8:30 my time.
Before I forget, we should probably wrap up with anything coming up on the APN this week. You want to mention before we head out?
Well, yeah, actually, let me mention a couple things because we were planning on releasing the first season entirely of a new show, but we're just not done in time, so it's probably going to come out next week. But it's called Sight Bites. It's a new podcast from Carlton Gover, who is one of the hosts of the Life in Ruins podcast.
Oh yeah,
and if you want to check it out, you can go to arcpodnet.com/sightbites, and the intro episode is on there. So it's just a little 5-minute thing. But basically, he's bringing on a guest co-host for each one of his series, and each series is going to talk about a single topic. This one is called Canyon of Contention, talking all about Chaco Canyon. So they've got, I think, 4 or 5 different guests on over the course of 5 episodes, and when we get them all finished, we're going to drop them Netflix style all at once, so you can just binge the season. And then next season he'll do something else, and he'll talk about something else. He'll bring on a different co-host and do that. So you can look for that. Hopefully next week. We were hoping this Friday, but we're just not gonna make it in time. But hopefully next week. And then one other sad note to mention: we didn't have an did we have one last week? I don't think we had a rock art podcast last week. We definitely don't have one this week.
No, you had one last
week. Because Alan, the host, he put this out on his newsletter for the California Rock Art Foundation, so I know I can mention it.
Okay.
But he tested positive for COVID, and actually he's feeling some pretty good symptoms, and he's in the hospital right now.
Wait, really?
He says he feels like he's doing well. He's not on a ventilator or anything. They gave him that remdesivir antibiotic, and he says it seems to be working. So I just talked to him a little while ago before we started the show. So
wow.
So that podcast is going to be on hold for a little while Alan recovers and gets better. So but hopefully we'll be back at it in a few weeks with some more new episodes. So
wow.
Yeah, totally.
Oh,
scary stuff. And I think CRM art comes out tomorrow.
No, it came out. Well, there was one today.
Oh, it came out today. Yeah, it came out today. Sorry,
because I was listening to it.
I forgot what day it was.
Yeah. And
So
as far as my stuff goes, I am like
yeah.
currently like I'm currently like editing a bunch of stuff, but
Hmm.
I'm not sure how if I'm gonna be able to keep up the schedule I had last year. I'll try, but
Yeah.
it might be a little more scattered. But I definitely have a whole like I'm not sure about you because if you still have a whole bunch of stuff, but I definitely still have a whole bunch of stuff like sitting in my hard drive that needs to be edited.
Yeah.
You know,
Trust me.
and it's just like, well, now it's just like, it takes like a lot of time and like video
Yeah.
editing takes like a lot longer than audio editing and
Yep.
all sorts of stuff.
That
So,
certainly does.
there's a whole bunch of stuff, I've got planned, but when it comes out, basically, hopefully it'll come out in
Hmm.
the same schedule, but you never know. But I definitely
Hmm.
have most of this month's planned out, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Cool.
Uh,
Well, that sounds good.
yeah,
I'm glad we were able to get back on this. Our schedule is going to be not so much a schedule because I mean we're back to
I know.
moving around a lot, and we have decent internet right now. And actually, we have we're
Yeah.
actually doing this on. Let me see here. Oh yeah, we got a deal. I'll just mention this real quick because
Yeah.
I've got a router up here that takes 4 different SIM cards, and
Oh, I remember that.
between the two Verizon SIMs I've got in there, and then our AT&T plan on our phones and my tablet,
Yeah.
and then we're part of the Family Motor Coach Association, just a thing for RVers, and they come out with deals every once in a while.
Yeah.
We picked up a Sprint MiFi, and
Ah.
I was like, Sprint's about the only other network we don't have because we actually tried T-Mobile and it was they sold us a SIM card that doesn't actually work in routers, so we got rid of it. And but the Sprint MiFi, I actually tried pulling the SIM out of that and put it in our router, and it didn't work because Sprint doesn't allow that. But
Oh.
my router will read two other Wi-Fi networks and then just basically spread that Wi-Fi out on our normal network throughout the coach.
Ah.
But here's the thing:
Yeah.
our Sprint MiFi is just like our AT&T. We moved to a new AT&T plan that is still, I think, 50 gigabytes a month,
Yeah.
and then they throttle you after that, but they only throttle you if you're in an area where the towers are being pinged hard, right? Like you're going to be deprioritized if there's people who still have data left and that are on the towers.
Ah.
Um, but we have streamed Netflix and HBO and all kinds of stuff on our Apple TV on that AT&T account.
Yeah.
And this Sprint account, I thought, well, we'll give it a shot because it only has 10 gigabytes of unthrottled data. And I'm like, shit, I can go through 10 gigabytes in a day, right?
Yeah.
So we're well over that. Let me see where we're at right now. So we've
Yeah.
been doing this whole call. There's 20 days left in my cycle, and
Yeah.
I'm at 74 gigabytes of 10.
Wow.
You know why? Because nobody's on Sprint. So the tower's never full. So we're
Yeah.
just getting unthrottled, full unlimited data on Sprint, and it's amazing.
Oh, before I
So,
forget, have you are you still on CBS All Access?
am I what?
Are
On
you
what?
still on CBS?
Oh
The
yeah, we are, but we haven't watched the latest season of Discovery yet. We got sidetracked for the last couple months.
Oh, true.
So yeah,
Oh, not even the Mandalorian?
yeah. We haven't watched that either. No,
Oh,
we need
really?
to pick that back up. We're probably
Wow.
going to do that in the next couple months. But
Oh man, one
I
thing
know
I meant to ask
we
you
got
about.
totally behind.
One thing I meant to ask you about because you mentioned that you temporarily rented an office. Maybe we might not have enough time for that, but I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah, and we can definitely talk about that again because if we're going back to Charlotte for a month, there's a chance I might pick up another month there. It just depends. So it's called, if you happen to be in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, it's called COCOTIV, COCOTIV.
Oh.
I can't remember what that stands for. It sounds for like co-working, collaborating, and collective something or other. I don't know what it is, but anyway, I highly recommend checking out local co-working spaces. If you're a
Yeah.
WeWork kind of person, then fine. If you got a membership, but WeWorks are a little bit impersonal and they're really expensive. But
Ah.
if you just go look up, local co-working spaces, a lot of times they'll have, like, we had an office that was just the two of us. My
Yeah.
wife and I, we would work there together, and it was totally enclosed, so nobody else, we didn't have to wear masks or anything inside of our own office,
Yeah.
and we could lock the door when we leave at the end of the day and just leave all our stuff there. So
Yeah.
it was a pretty good deal. I recommend checking it out.
And more
Any
importantly, there's co-working
local
spaces in
co-working
every
space.
town these days. I mean, unless I'm wrong.
That's what I'm talking about. If you're going somewhere, yeah, if you're
Yeah.
going somewhere and you need a good place to work with good internet and usually good coffee and other benefits, and then there's the whole social aspect. I met a few people there that I'm probably going to keep in contact with, another
Cool.
podcaster and some different people doing stuff. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I like about co-working spaces. It's not just going to an office; it's meeting people that you can be mutually beneficial to, and make new friends.
Oh
So,
damn! I was just gonna, not to discuss the
yeah.
channel, your YouTube channel, but that would have been like a great video to show people how to be a digital
I know,
nomad.
I know. Yeah, totally. And we do have one much later coming out about some of that stuff, and it might even be so late that I get to film a little more when we go back in April. So we'll see.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Because I feel
but
like a lot of people, like a lot of people, particularly if they're like YouTubers or whatever, try
yeah.
to do the whole Starbucks thing and try to upload their videos there. It's just like their various other things, and that's not exactly the most efficient way.
Well,
to,
we'll just end with this. I'll give you one pro tip on uploading your videos if you're a
yeah.
YouTuber, and even podcasts, because I got this from another YouTuber that said this is what they do.
Yeah.
Like I was mentioning, our AT&T account is basically unlimited,
Yeah.
right? So instead of trying to tether to my computer, which that is limited, I only get 15 gigabytes of tethering data per device.
Yeah.
And I bombed through that real fast. So if for some reason I need to use my computer for something that I can't just use the worst internet for, something like that, then I'll tether. But when we're in a poor situation Wi-Fi wise, and I've got a 4 gigabyte YouTube video to upload, that could take days, right?
Yeah.
But on my Apple computer, I don't know how you would do this on like another device, but on my Apple computer, I'll just airdrop that video over to my phone or my cell-enabled tablet, and then upload it on my phone, because it's going to upload at normal speeds, which are usually pretty good, and it's unlimited. So I'm not worried about it. So I'll do all of the prep work on YouTube or on my podcast channels, adding the notes, doing all that stuff, and then I'll just open that back up and drop the file in from my phone or something, and upload it there. So I saw another YouTuber on a sailing channel or RV channel or something talking about doing that, and I was like, that's genius. I'm totally going to do that. Yeah.
Oh, and if you have a USB-C enabled phone, basically you just plug it in, and it just because USB-C just acts like a hard drive. Your phone will.
Yeah. Totally.
Which is also why I have been looking at, when I'm thinking about buying an iPad, I'm definitely going to get one with USB-C, because I was trying to look up how you transfer data over Lightning, and it's like, wow, that's like not a good system, and Apple should definitely get rid of it.
Well, I don't know if you're looking at I don't know what their plan is, because nobody knows, but there's pretty solid rumors of an M1 iPad coming out in early spring.
Oh, I heard that too. Like I was hearing like March or April.
Yeah, that's the rumor. So if you're in the market for an iPad, I would definitely wait until then, because that's going to be the way to go.
Oh, I am definitely waiting.
Yeah, me too. So,
anyway.
All right, man. Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks. It's been good to reconnect and get back on the live stream. Thanks everybody that's been watching, and especially Chuck and Amy, our guys that are always there, and we appreciate you guys.
And Stuart.
And, Stuart, if you're still there. Yeah. And even Corey Bruce actually commented on another channel. It just didn't carry through to this one. Yeah.
Oh.
I think I shared it on my personal page and it showed up there.
Oh.
But the comments didn't carry through. So anyway, thanks everybody for listening. Share it out the next time you hear it. Just so we can get some more people and some more eyes on this. We don't get anything from it. It's just fun to talk to people and get some more comments in here. So yeah, appreciate it. I hear that.
I figured you did. Anyway, don't forget to you can find us on the APN Archaeology Podcast Network and Happy Archaeology Fun Time. Just type that in and all my stuff will come up, basically.
That's right.
Cool. Alrighty.
All right. Chuck says goodbye. Bye, Chuck.
Bye, Chuck.